this week's Weather Authority University, we're talking science and history because we're talking about daylight saving time, which ends on November 7th, the first Sunday in November, as it always does. It begins, by the way, every year the second Sunday in March, so we've got a few months to go before that happens. But let's talk about how we got to daylight saving time in the first place. Well, according to the Old Farmer's Almanac, this has been around for more than a century. Even hundreds of years ago, it was actually suggested, but we've actually been practicing daylight saving time for about 100 years. The original idea was to just make the most of daylight. Don't be sleeping through the sunlight, and that helps to conserve fuel as people were just active during those natural daylight hours and sleeping when it was dark out. Makes sense, right? Well, it might not be the most popular everywhere, but it's still something that we put up with in most of the United States. I'll get to that in a second, but let's talk about the daylight throughout the year. Of course, the sun naturally setting earlier this time of the year as the northern hemisphere faces away from the sun for a longer portion of the day, which is why the sun starts to go down earlier in the first place. But of course, you see that steep drop off when daylight saving comes into play. And now we're seeing our sunset on November 7th at, there it is, 4:45 p.m. Nice and early. Now the benefit is that sunrise is a little bit earlier, so early birds out there, you get a little bit more sunshine with your coffee. Now, in terms of those states that said, we don't want to deal with this, Arizona is one of them. The other is Hawaii. They said, we're on island time, we're good to go anyway. So if you're heading to either of those places, this whole lesson doesn't necessarily apply, but here in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky, daylight saving time, again, November 7th, set those clocks back. I'm Christina Shalhoub for Weather Authority University.